Let me ask you something honestly. What if the first 30 minutes of your day decide the emotional quality of the next 12 hours? Not your talent, not your intelligence, not your luck, just the first 30 minutes after you open your eyes. If you wake up reactive, you will live reactive. If you wake up rushed, you will move rushed. If you wake up anxious, you will interpret the whole day through anxiety. Most people don't lose their focus at 3 p.m. They lose it at 6:30 a.m., when they hand their nervous system to the world before they even stand up. Here's the truth. Morning is not about productivity. It's not about waking up at 4 a.m. It's not about extreme discipline or copying some billionaire routine. Morning is about regulation. It's about stabilizing your nervous system before the world starts pulling on it. There is something called the cortisol awakening response. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, but in healthy levels, it's also the hormone that helps you wake up. Within the first 30 to 45 minutes after you open your eyes, your cortisol naturally rises. This is normal. It prepares your brain to focus, move, and think clearly. But here's the problem. If the first thing you do is grab your phone, check notifications, read emails, scroll social media, or see stressful news, you amplify that cortisol spike. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a digital one. A work message, a comparison on Instagram, a negative headline, your body reacts as if something is wrong. Your heart rate increases. Your mind becomes alert in a tense way, not a calm way. And once your nervous system starts the day in stress mode, everything feels urgent. Everything feels bigger than it is. Small problems look like threats. Conversations feel heavier. Your patience drops faster. You think it's just a busy day, but it actually started in your first 10 minutes. Now imagine something different. You wake up. You don't reach for your phone. You sit up slowly. You take 3 slow breaths. You let your eyes adjust to the light. You move gently. You allow your nervous system to rise naturally instead of shocking it. The cortisol still rises. That's healthy, but now it rises into clarity, not chaos. This is the reframe. Morning routine is not hustle culture. It is not about doing more. It is about protecting your internal state. It is emotional priming. It is deciding how you want to feel before the world tells you how to feel. We live in an attention economy. Your focus is a product. Every app, every notification, every platform is designed to capture it. If you don't choose your first input of the day, the algorithm will choose it for you. And the algorithm does not care about your peace. It cares about engagement. When you open your phone immediately, you are saying, the world goes first. When you pause and regulate, you are saying, I go first. This doesn't require 2 hours. It doesn't require a perfect life. It requires awareness. The first 30 minutes are not about achieving. They're about aligning. Not about performance, but about preparation. In this video, I'm going to share 7 science-backed morning upgrades. They are realistic. They are simple. Number 4 a.m. hype. No extreme routines. Just practical adjustments that protect your focus, your energy, and your confidence. Because here's the deeper truth. You don't need a new personality. You need a stable nervous system. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer chaotic mornings. Morning doesn't need to be extreme. It needs to be intentional. Morning success does not start with ambition. It starts with regulation. Before productivity, before goals, before discipline, your nervous system decides the quality of your day. If your body wakes up chaotic, your mind follows. If your body wakes up stable, your mind becomes clear. This is not 3 random habits. This is one regulation system built on rhythm, protection, and activation. 1. Consistent wake time, circadian stability. Not early. Consistent. Your brain loves rhythm. It thrives on predictability. When you wake up at different times every day, your nervous system must constantly recalibrate. That hidden recalibration drains mental energy before your day even begins. This is why inconsistent mornings often feel foggy and heavy. Science calls this circadian stability. Your body has an internal clock. When you wake at the same time daily, your brain begins preparing before the alarm even rings. Cortisol rises naturally at the correct moment. Alertness feels smoother. You need less willpower to function. Consistency also reduces decision fatigue. If waking up is negotiable every morning, your brain spends energy debating. But when the time is fixed, the decision is already made. Fewer micro-decisions equal more mental bandwidth for meaningful work. More importantly, waking up consistently sends a powerful identity signal. I keep promises to myself. It does not need to be 4 a.m. It does not need to be extreme. Choose a realistic time that fits your life. 6:30, 7 o'clock, even 7:30. But treat it as non-negotiable, including weekends when possible. Stability builds strength quietly. 2. No phone for the first 30 to 60 minutes. Your phone is not the enemy. Timing is. When you open your phone immediately after waking, you trigger a dopamine spike before your brain is fully regulated. Notifications, messages, news, social media, all compete for attention. Your nervous system shifts into reactive mode. There is also something called a dopamine hijack. Early scrolling overstimulates reward pathways. Your brain starts the day chasing stimulation instead of building focus. This creates comparison loops and emotional noise before you have defined your own priorities. The first hour after waking is your brain's most impressionable window. It is when cortisol awakening response, CAR, peaks, preparing your system for alertness. If that window is flooded with stress signals, your clarity drops and anxiety rises. Protect that window. Instead of grabbing your phone, try 3 simple actions. Drink a glass of water. Rehydration immediately supports cognitive function. Expose yourself to natural light for 3 to 5 minutes. Morning sunlight helps reset melatonin and strengthens circadian rhythm. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Inhale through the nose. Exhale slowly through the mouth. This regulates the nervous system before the world enters. You are not avoiding technology. You are choosing intentional input. If you do not choose your morning input, the algorithm will choose it for you. 3. Move your body, energy activation. Energy is not something you wait for. It is something you generate. Even 5 to 15 minutes of movement in the morning increases blood flow and stimulates BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF supports learning, memory, and mental sharpness. In simple terms, movement makes your brain more adaptable and focused. You do not need a gym. You do not need a complex routine. 10 squats, 10 push-ups, 30 seconds of jumping jacks, a short stretch sequence, a 5-minute walk outside. The goal is not intensity. The goal is activation. Emotion is physiological before it is psychological. When you move your body, your breathing deepens. Your heart rate rises slightly. Circulation improves. This shifts your emotional state naturally. You feel more awake, more present, more capable. Many people wait to feel motivated before exercising. But motivation often appears after movement, not before it. Action precedes emotion. When you combine these 3 elements, consistent wake time, protected phone boundary, and short physical activation, you are not building a hustle routine. You are stabilizing your nervous system. And a regulated nervous system creates cognitive clarity. Energy is created, not waited for. After you stabilize the body, you stabilize the mind. This is where most people skip the process. They wake up, move a little, maybe drink coffee, and then jump straight into tasks. But without mental clarity, activity becomes noise. Quiet power is built in 2 simple steps: silence and direction. 1. Silence, 5 minutes that rewire your brain. This is not spiritual fantasy. This is neurological training. When you sit in silence, even for 5 minutes, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, focus, and emotional regulation. At the same time, you reduce unnecessary amygdala activity, the part responsible for fear, stress, and overreaction. Most people wake up and immediately stimulate the amygdala. Messages, news, social media, unfinished tasks. The brain enters defensive mode before it enters creative mode. Silence interrupts that pattern. You do not need incense. You do not need complicated meditation techniques. You need 5 intentional minutes. Here is a simple structure. Box breathing 4-4-4-4. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Repeat for 1 to 2 minutes. This pattern signals safety to your nervous system. Heart rate stabilizes. Stress hormones decrease. Focus increases. After breathing, shift to thought observation. Do not try to stop thoughts. Just notice them. You might think, I have so much to do. I'm tired. I don't feel motivated. Instead of reacting, simply label the thought. That's a planning thought. That's a fear thought. That's a comparison thought. When you observe thoughts instead of becoming them, you create space. And space creates power. Silence is not about emptying your mind. It is about training your mind not to control you. In 5 quiet minutes, you move from reactive mode to responsive mode. From emotional impulse to intentional awareness. That shift changes the emotional tone of the entire day. 2. Write your top 3 priorities. Once your mind is quiet, you give it direction. Without direction, energy scatters. With direction, energy multiplies. Most people live in what feels like productivity, but is actually busyness. They answer emails, reply to messages, attend meetings, check notifications, and at night they feel exhausted, but unclear about what was truly accomplished. This is the busy trap. There is a psychological concept called Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. If you give yourself an entire day without defined priorities, small tasks expand. Distractions multiply. Urgent but unimportant activities take over. But when you write down only 3 priorities, your brain receives constraints. And constraints create focus. Why 3? Because cognitive load matters. The human brain can only hold a limited number of meaningful goals in working memory at once. Too many tasks increase mental friction. Friction increases avoidance. 3 creates clarity. Here is a simple micro-framework. Must do versus nice to do. Ask yourself, if I finish only 3 things today, what must they be for this day to feel successful? Write them down clearly. Specific and actionable. Not, work on project. But, complete slide 1 to 10 of presentation. Not, practice English. But, record 3-minute speaking practice. Nice to do tasks can exist, but they do not enter the top 3. They wait. This separation reduces anxiety immediately. Why? Because uncertainty decreases. Anxiety often comes from unclear expectations. When your brain does not know what matters most, everything feels urgent. When everything feels urgent, stress rises. Clarity reduces anxiety. There is also an identity shift happening here. When you choose 3 priorities intentionally, you move from reactive living to deliberate living. Busy people respond to the loudest signal. Productive people respond to the most important signal. And here is something subtle but powerful. When you complete your 3 priorities, your brain releases dopamine linked to progress, not distraction. That creates a confidence loop. You begin to trust yourself. You feel capable. Momentum builds naturally. Silence gives you emotional control. Priorities give you directional control. Together, they create mental clarity. You are no longer pulled by notifications. You are not controlled by urgency. You are not overwhelmed by options. You are calm. You are clear. You are moving forward. What you consume in the first hour of your day slowly becomes who you are. Most people think habits are about action, but identity is built by input. The thoughts you read, the voices you hear, the language you repeat. These shape your self-image more than motivation ever will. That's why this part of the morning is not about doing more. It's about choosing what enters your mind when it is most open. After sleep, your brain is in a highly plastic state. Research shows that neural pathways are more flexible right after waking because your brain transitions from slower brainwaves into alert awareness. In simple words, what you feed your mind in the morning sticks deeper. That's why morning reading is so powerful. 10 pages a day may sound small, but 10 pages multiplied by 365 days equals over 3,500 pages a year, roughly 12 to 15 books. That is not hype. That is math. And those books compound inside you. New ideas reshape old beliefs. New language strengthens thinking. New perspectives reduce emotional reactivity. Think of it as a mental diet. If you consume drama, negativity, gossip, and shallow content every morning, your identity slowly becomes reactive and distracted. If you consume clarity, strategy, psychology, biography, language, and growth material, your identity becomes intentional. You do not become what you occasionally read. You become what you repeatedly consume. Even 10 minutes is enough if it is consistent. Read something that stretches your thinking. Read something slightly challenging in English. Read 1 paragraph twice. Highlight one sentence. Speak one sentence out loud. That is identity training. Now let's layer something even more powerful on top. Morning English activation. Not studying grammar. Not memorizing vocabulary lists. Activation. 5 minutes is enough. Speak or think in English out loud. When you think aloud, you reduce fear because you normalize the sound of your own voice. Fear shrinks with exposure. This is called the micro-exposure principle. Small daily exposure rewires the nervous system faster than rare intense practice. Stand near a window. Take a breath. Say simple sentences. Today I feel calm. I want to focus on my priorities. I am training my discipline. It does not need to be perfect. The goal is identity-based language learning. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent one day, you rehearse the identity of someone who already uses English daily. You are not waiting to become confident. You are practicing confidence. Add one more layer for acceleration. 2 minutes of shadowing. Play a short audio clip in English. Pause. Repeat the sentence with the same rhythm and tone. Not to sound perfect, but to train prosody, the melody of language. Fluency is not just vocabulary. It is rhythm. When you copy rhythm daily, your speech becomes smoother without conscious effort. After that, write one sentence in English in a notebook. Just one. My main focus today is consistency. I am improving step by step. This small journaling act strengthens cognitive fluency, because writing organizes thought. Notice what is happening here. Reading shapes thinking. Speaking shapes confidence. Shadowing shapes rhythm. Writing shapes clarity. Together, these inputs are not random habits. They are identity rehearsal. You are rehearsing being disciplined. You are rehearsing being multilingual. You are rehearsing being thoughtful. And identity rehearsal, repeated daily, becomes identity. You do not wake up successful. You wake up and rehearse success. You do not wake up fluent. You rehearse fluency. You do not wake up confident. You rehearse calm, intentional input every morning. That is the shift. Habits are not tasks on a checklist. They are votes for the type of person you are becoming. You become what you consume repeatedly. If you choose your inputs wisely each morning, your identity will upgrade quietly, steadily, without drama. And once identity changes, results follow automatically. This is where everything becomes simple. Not easier, but simpler. Morning habits are not about becoming a different person overnight. They are about protecting who you are becoming. The real shift is not, I want success. It is, I am someone who protects my mornings. Because when you protect your morning, you protect your nervous system, your clarity, your direction, and your future decisions. For the next 30 days, don't aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. Think of it as a reset, not a transformation. Your 30-day framework is clear and realistic. Wake up at the same time every day. Not earlier than everyone else, just consistent. Avoid your phone for the first 30 minutes. Give your brain space before the world enters. Move your body for 10 minutes. Nothing extreme. Just activate your energy. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. Breathe. Observe. Calm the noise. Write your top 3 priorities for the day, so you move with intention, not reaction. Read for 10 minutes to upgrade your thinking. And finish with 5 minutes of English activation. Speak, think, shadow, or write one sentence. Small inputs. Big identity shift. Here is the only rule. No 0 mornings. Even if you are tired, even if you are busy, even if you only complete half of it, do something. A 0 morning becomes a 0 pattern. A small win becomes a momentum pattern. You don't need to change your entire life this week. You need to strengthen the first hour of your day. That is enough. If this message speaks to you, like this video as a quiet commitment to yourself. Subscribe to Inspire English Stories if you want practical growth with calm clarity. And comment, I protect my morning. Let it be your declaration. You don't need a new life. You need a stronger morning.